Coach Hunt, thank you for taking time with us. Your first scrimmage as the new head coach, even though you decided to do this interview in Dr. Dunphy's office. What are your initial impressions of the scrimmage? Did it go as you liked it? How do you determine success on a scrimmage like the one that you played against Hawaii?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Uh, I I don't expect much. I told the guys right before we played, um, we're evaluating their effort, how well we compete. We're not going to be perfect, but we're going to compete on every play, and I thought they competed hard. Um, so yeah, there not much expectation. It's the end of week 2, right? So we've had 9, 10 practices. So I think it'd be crazy to expect something, and we just don't set expectations really. We just sort of embrace the moment and get after it and see what we can do. So yeah, not much expectation, but I liked how we competed. We competed against a good team out there and um, played good volleyball for long stretches.
How do these scrimmages come about? Obviously, there's a limit to the amount of teams that you could play against, but
Yeah,
yeah, how did you and Hawaii connect? And are you guys going to play any other teams during the fall?
yeah. We played Santa Barbara last weekend. We play Hawaii this weekend. We're gonna go to Las Vegas and play BYU, and mainly it's just we get to know the coaching staffs of the other teams. We respect the other coaching staffs, and we meet up with them and sort of make some deals. We get 4 dates in the fall to play matches, so we can play as many matches on one day as we want, as long as it's just 4 days. So usually it's just handshake deals and call people up and hey, here's our schedule. What's yours look like, and go from there.
The BYU match might be a neutral site, but I imagine that they would have quite a support in Las Vegas, having a couple local kids that on their team.
Yeah. And we've done that for a few years now, and the people in Las Vegas do a really good job of building the event and getting it going. Yeah, we've done that maybe 4 or 5 years, and so it's been really good. It's sort of halfway for both teams, and it's a semi road trip. Considering the NCAA really limits where we can go or where we can travel in the fall, it's about as far away as we can get, so it's fun.
um, a question I asked Josh that I'll ask you. Can you tell us where the graduated seniors are, what they're up to, where they're playing, or where they're
Yeah,
going to school?
yeah. When I was talking to Charlie before the match, he was just visiting. We're in Italy, where one of our guys is playing. So we got one guy playing there. We got one guy playing in Estonia. We got a few guys with some pretty good jobs locally. That turned down some chances to play because uh, they got pretty good high-paying jobs. So uh, our guys are sort of spread out all over the place.
And certain personal favorite is kicking butt in graduate school in Gainesville, Florida, right?
Yeah, we got one guy ready to take over the world and revolutionize the NCAA and go from there.
Um, the I wouldn't say issue, but the position that seemed to have your coaching staff last year the struggle to solve was at the setter position. You went back and forth between two setters. How has Mullally looked so far, and have you made any decisions going forward who your setter will be?
Yeah, last year we had two really good setters. They had different strengths, and depending on the match, it seemed like we were able to try to maximize their strengths. Rob's our one returning setter. We also have John Minsberg, who's a freshman who's learning every day and picking up our offense and what we're trying to do. And it's great just to have both those guys in the gym right now. Yeah, Rob I think has a leg up in terms of terminology and rapport with his hitters, and it being only week 2, I think John's in a great position competing. Both those guys are competing every day, and it's going to be something that probably continues all the way through the season.
Obviously, as the new head coach, you have your own assistants in place. Um, what have you seen from Andy Hine? Is he done enough for you to keep him on for the regular season?
Yeah, I think we'll keep him. I think he's done a good enough job for us to keep him around. So we got Andy here. We got Brad, who was our volunteer last year, who's filling in for us now since Sean had to step away. We have a good consultant coach who has a nice office here, who has a lot of experience being a head coach over the years. So he gives his input, and it's nice having a consultant on staff that has that sort of experience. So I think we're in good shape.
Speaking of that consultant, I hear that he's teaching a coaching class.
Yeah.
Here's my curveball question: has he brought you in to be a guest speaker at that class yet?
You know what? For years, all these great coaches have come in, and I always thought, hey, when I'm able to come into Marv's coaching class, I'll know I've made it. And I think he brought me in one day, maybe last year or 2 years ago, because somebody like bailed or something like that. But yeah, he hasn't asked me to come in, so I don't think what I have to say is too important. I had to fill in though when he went with the USA team, but yeah, sort of probably he keeps me grounded a lot, so I appreciate that.
Let's preview the season. Obviously, as we all know, the MPS has been splintered off, or the Big West has splintered off for the MPSF. So there's only 7 teams now. Preview the MPSF for us, the new MPSF for us.
Yeah, we lost teams, and it's not any easier. I'll tell you that much. We got if you were to split it up, I think we got a tough draw, which is awesome. Lots of good coaches, lots of good players. So the mantra, I think, from the last few years was, man, it's a battle every night, and I don't think that really changes. So yeah, it frees us up to be able to play some non-conference matches early. So we have lots of room almost all of January and the first part of February to do that. So we get a little bit of freedom there, but man, it's still a grind, that's for sure.
Tell us about the non-conference. Who are you playing, and how did you select the teams that you wanted to play non-conference?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't do too much selecting. That was Marv doing the scheduling, but we're playing Santa Barbara, we're playing Irvine, Loyola. There's a few teams that we tried to schedule that their schedules were just full. I think sometimes people think, here's a little bit of drama. This team's not playing that team, and just logistically, sometimes it doesn't work out. We tried to pair up with a few teams, and the weeks that we had open, they didn't have open, and it's not advantageous for us to squeeze those high level matches in the middle of our conference season or their conference season, and be playing 3 or 4 matches a week. I think that sort of defeats the purpose of our conferences splitting and trying to grow a little bit. So yeah, there's not too much drama behind it. I think every coach that we've dealt with has been good in terms of trying to make things work, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. But we're fortunate that we'll get to play a lot of good teams and get to test ourselves again.
I'm really intrigued with the changes of the MPSF. How is the championship tournament going to be scheduled? Obviously, it's probably going to be a little bit different from years past.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know there was debate on it, but now that you say it, I don't even know what we decided. I don't know. I think it's... Yeah, I'm not even sure. So that's probably a good question for later. I'm probably failing my first question as a head coach.
And one change I know for sure is that you guys only have to play 1 match at BYU.
Mm-hmm.
How's that change?
Yeah, we did that a few years ago. A few years ago, we decided, hey, we're going to, I think when Cal Baptist came in the league, we're going to do home and away with them. And, it doesn't really change, what we're doing. We still got to play them. We still got to play them twice. It's just like our conference tournament. We're going to play wherever they tell us to and whenever they tell us to. So if we're lucky enough to get to the conference final, we're going to play it on whatever day it's scheduled. That's sort of out of our control, and we can't. I mean, it is what it is. So I don't know. And same thing with BYU's schedule. We're going to play them twice. I enjoy playing them twice. I think a few years ago we only played them once. So I'd much rather play them twice.
Well, and obviously, it would be better for scheduling or strength of schedule purposes too, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's I'm glad. Last year we didn't get to play. I think it was 4 teams. We didn't get to play them twice, and just from a competitive standpoint, you want to play good teams as many times as possible. So I'm glad that we're able to do that a little bit more.
All right. So I'll ask you to recap the last 2 weeks of scrimmage. How has it changed being in the head coaching chair? How you analyze the team and how you prepare them with the rest of the fall practice?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, no longer am I making suggestions. I have to start making decisions. That's probably the biggest one. It's not, hey, Marv, we should do this. Now he tells me, hey, I think you should work on this. And then I got to pull the trigger and figure out how to design that. Not too much has changed. In the fall, there's such an emphasis on the process of getting better. And it's obviously we would have done a lot of things differently tonight if we're battling to try to win that match. I was saying Hawaii would have done things a lot differently. So
not just sub as liberally as you have.
yeah, not do a line change, go into set 3 or something like that. So yeah, we would have both. I mean, I think I can speak for every coach when I say that, we would treat the fall a lot differently. So I think that question will feel a little bit different once our season starts. But for sure, we got to start making some decisions, or I have to start making decisions and start pulling the trigger on some things versus just always suggesting things.
When I interviewed you after you were announced the new head coach, I asked you to what the successful season would be. Has that changed after the 2 weeks of practice?
Yeah, not too much. I remember talking to you about, we don't set expectations, and it takes away from the joy of things. It takes away from just being mindful and being in the moment, really. And I think it's similar to expecting something from a player, expecting something from this scrimmage. It takes away from the enjoyment of, wow, that was a really good play. Wow, that was something that somebody's been working on and they had success here. Let's celebrate that. And so I don't really, I still don't expect too much. I think we become a little more realistic in how we see things and identifying people's strengths and getting ready to put them in positions to maximize those strengths. But in terms of expecting something, I think, not too much of that's changed.
Well, thank you for taking time with us. Safe travels to Las Vegas and
Thanks.
And back, and good luck in the 2018 season.
All right, thanks, Sean.